Alright, so in today's video, I got every single trophy, including the Platinum Trophy on Bendy and the Ink Machine. Now, in the past of my gaming history, I've played a lot of horror games, and I think that horror games are one of the best genres of video games there is, especially when platinuming a game. It's truly a completely different experience. However, one of the franchises I have never touched, tickled, or even penetrated is Bendy and the Ink Machine. This game series contains a few games, but today I just played the OG one, being Bendy and the Ink Machine, obviously. Now, in total, the game contains only 26 trophies with the Platinum Trophy. It took me about 6 hours to finish, and it's rated at just a 4 out of 10, which honestly should be even lower. This game is very, very easy to complete. Before we begin, shout out to this collectible guide I followed. It absolutely nailed it, and there really isn't a good one besides this, so shout out.
I love you, bitch.
Now, starting off with Bendy and the Ink Machine, the first stage is just play the game and beat it. There really isn't much to this platinum besides getting all of the collectibles and a few in-chapter trophies here and there. But the story itself opens up with our main character being named Henry, going to investigate his old, abandoned 1930s cartoon studio after he gets an invitation from his former business partner, Joey Drew. And you basically uncover the mystery behind the studio, which is now a twisted, ink-filled nightmare where cartoon characters have been brought to life. This game also sort of inspired a whole genre of cartoon action games like Mouse PI for Hire, for example. So this game walked for that game to jog, I guess. Anyways, at the start, I just ran around grabbing my bearings. This game literally just begins. There isn't really an intro at all. After grabbing the first few bacon soup collectibles for the Master of Bacon trophy, I then wandered into the first objective room. You have to grab these 2 power cells to then operate this lever, which lifts up the infamous Ink Machine. And our goal is to now power that up. Imagine an alternate storyline where we just leave. Bye-bye trilogy. It was fun while it lasted.
Hey, disconnected.
Anyways, I then found my first audio log of the game, and FYI, these do not need to be listened to in full for it to count for the trophy. Simply interacting with them and then going about your business will suffice. Now, moving on, I eventually walked into this room with multiple pedestals and corresponding icons above them. And this is how we power up the Ink Machine. You have to go around the map that's available and find each little object to unlock the power, I guess. Now, this is a bit hard, especially because the items in this game that can be interacted with glow yellowish. And the game itself kind of has a yellowish tint to it, so yeah, it kind of just blended together, and I'm already blind, which doesn't help the cause.
That's what I'm saying.
But in this portion, not much happened. There really isn't any jump scares or anything in the first chapter of this game. That is, until the ending of it. So I just picked away at those items. I found the wrench first and then quite a few others after that. My final item ended up being the book, which I deadass ran past probably like 10 times when doing circles in this area. After bringing everything to the Ink Machine, we then powered it up and the first story trophy of the game popped right away. Now, that may have given us power, but we didn't have any pressure to make anything happen. However, the wheel to turn and give us pressure was just down in the basement in that film room. I remembered where it was at right away because I tried interacting with it multiple times before for nothing to happen earlier. However, this time it did work, and after using it, we had a bit of a spill. POV, me and your mother last night. But then I just ran back up and flipped the Ink Machine on, and nothing. Nothing happened. I mean, I guess the lights got a bit dimmer, but I don't even think I realized that because I was high. So I just ran around for a bit wondering, what the fuck? And I ultimately found my way back to the room where we started this all, and it was all boarded up. We then got a jump scare with the villain of this game being named simply the Demon, I believe. And I'm not gonna lie, I was pissing and shitting myself when this happened. 2,322 likes, and I'll bring back the face cam so you guys can see myself piss in real time. But then you just have to run away from the demon. It's not very hard. And after making it nearly to the glowing door of heavenly lights, you then slip down and fall into the hell that is the floors below. After landing, a trophy then pops from discovering the monster. So this is when the game picks up a little bit, and we had to drain the ink right away when down here. Because if you ever wait an ink too long, it's just, it's not good. I mean, how the hell are we gonna get that out of our clothes? Anyways, after clearing this path and then walking through a few rooms, we encountered a demonic circle on the ground. I feel like I just walked into a Conjuring movie. Now, once walking inside the circle, which is the dumbest thing that we could do, we then entered a trance of sorts, and we saw some flashing images of such high definition, like the Ink Machine. But this then begins chapter 2 of the game. By the way, there is 5 chapters total, so yeah, there's some info for your brain. Now, our goal in this chapter was again to just find a way out. Not until the 3rd chapter do we get some more intense and long objectives. We are still kind of in the intro to the game, I guess. You do run into some sort of person, however, during this, which was horrifying. This game has very few direct jump scares. It's very much a slow builder, but it does have a very unique scare feeling to it that's very different from other games, which I loved. But moving forward here, you just kind of keep on progressing until reaching this music room, which is where this chapter is largely centered inside of. And you also encounter the first enemies of the game. Yes, this game has enemies that will occasionally just crawl out of the floor with a quite disgusting sound to bite our ankles. The combat in this game also is not the greatest, which will pose some troubles later on with the famous aggression trophy nearing the end of the game. But getting back to some trophies, I ended up getting quite a lot on this chapter, and one right here from simply playing the pipe organ 5 times. So I just walked up to it, played it 5 times, the trophy popped instantly. Now there is quite a few trophies here like I just said, and I honestly didn't know what to do to get them, even with watching a video guide to help. I mean, for f***'s sake, at one point I gave up and just stared at a play that was happening. Then again, if I remember correctly, this was a little bit later at night, and I think the edible I took was beginning to really digest in my brain. But this was kind of perfect because the trophy I ended up going for right here, called Strike Up the Band, was a very slow and boring trophy. Its description is to simply get all the Bendys on stage, which are obviously those little cutouts of the comic book character. Now to do this, all you have to do is run upstairs and play the film, then run back down and wait for it to run out, and upon going back, you should see more and more Bendy cutouts appear in the room down below when looking from the top. They do not ever appear downstairs. It's a little optical illusion, if you will. But this trophy also does not pop right away when getting them all on stage, which I didn't know that, so I just kept on doing this for about 10 minutes. Yes, I love wasting time. It's my favorite hobby outside of Jerkmate Ranked. But then I just finished the puzzle that was here to get through a gate, because after doing that, it will pop the trophy. And to get this gate open, you have to interact with an audio log in a closet. In doing so, it then gives you a code to play the instruments in. Every person's is going to be different, so this will not be the same for you. At least, it's not likely that it will be. And then you have to just simply play the instruments in the order. After doing it correctly, my order was the banjo, the piano, the bass fiddle, and the bass fiddle again, which really messed with my mind because for some reason, it just didn't register that it did repeat. So I just kept on doing the last instrument in the room, which was not right. Finally, I did figure it out, however, and once the gate thing rised up, I got 2 trophies. The one I had been trying to do, and then just a story trophy from solving the music puzzle. But in this room, all we were after was simply one of the 2 valves to again get the ink running. After leaving, a big fight then occurred, and I honestly nearly got swallowed in the cum. I mean the ink. And this also reminds me of a decade-long debate I've had with myself. Would it be better to cum in the sink or to sink in the cum?
Better to come in the sink than to sink in the cum.
What did he say?
Anyways, the rest of this area was very straightforward. After going through a lot of ominous hallways, you end up going down a very long sewer drain of sorts, and at the end is the final valve we need to turn. But to do so, you have to first crush this teleporting enemy who moves positions every time we get near him. Now, he also is holding the wheel we need. So to get that, we have to crush him into mere atoms. And to do this, all you have to do is simply lower this crate in the back of the room. Now, this is very simple, but it's actually quite hard to get this teleporting guy to go all the way back in the room. Now, it may look like he is below the crate right here, but he's actually not, and he's slightly in front of it. And honestly, I couldn't really tell you how to get him all the way back there. I'm pretty sure he just kind of does eventually. And once he does, just ensure that you do crush him because he may never return. I'm just kidding. He probably does, but I did it right here. I got the wheel and then I turned the valve, finishing our objective finally. That then allowed us to pull a lever in Sammy's office, and after doing so, we then finished all of the objectives in chapter 2. However, on the walk out, we got struck by Sammy Lawrence, who is the ink man right here. And then we began the first sort of boss fight of the game. Sammy talked to us for a minute, sort of alluding to a deeper plot point regarding the creations that are stuck in the ink, including himself. We learned that some sort of sacrifice, including us, is what these things believe will let them leave the ink. So then a massive fight happens, and honestly, I don't know what happened, but I got my ass clapped immediately like a small town girl who was going to Florida State University. God bless America. But then I saw the death animation for the first time, which put us in a tunnel of ink, I think. It looks very weird, and it looks like we're inside of... You know what? I'm not even gonna say it. Anyways, after waking up back in reality, I guess the enemies felt bad and they were no longer there. However, after walking a few steps forward, the demon himself just appears, and at this point, I still had no clue how to escape him, and I died again. Man, I think I suck.
Hey, Yeah.
But again, that didn't kill us off, and the story kept on moving. The demon did come back right after, but I was at the end of the area already, and once running far enough forwards, I finished off chapter 2 and got the Believer trophy from surviving being chased by Bendy. I definitely did not do that. But then we ended up finding a passive ink monster being this goofy looking creature called Boris. I honestly have no idea the lore of this guy besides us being friends with him, at least sort of. So then chapter 3 did begin, and this chapter was very long, and the goal was surrounding us again, just trying to find an exit. And honestly, not much really happens during it at the start. I got lost a lot. This game is very confusing. I definitely didn't look up anything while playing, but I did get a trophy during it called Inner Child from playing with 25 Bendy dolls. And this is very easily done in this room where there's like 50 of them all over the place. So here's that trophy pop. Also, a minute before that, we also encountered the most major villain of this game besides the demon himself, being named Alice Angel. And for a while in this game, we have to interact with her. In fact, pretty much like the next hour of gameplay, we do interact with her. After getting the elevator powered up and going down to where we need to, you end up going through a few rooms before reaching the end of this path and seeing Alice behind a glass wall. She is in the midst of torturing some Boris-like creation, but also tells us a lot of lore. All in all, we end up just having to do her bidding, and we go from floor to floor doing objectives for this entire area. But all in all, it's not a very hard objective strand. It's actually pretty fun. I finally ended up remembering the areas of this game, and I didn't have too many issues with completing them. Nearing the end, I was also being chased by the demon quite vigorously. However, I found that if you just jump in a closet, he can't ever get you. What a retard.
That's what I'm saying.
Anyways, then completed the last objective, returned to Alice, and she gives us the Tommy gun for all of our efforts, which is a big help in the next area. Also, this Tommy gun trophy is missable if you pick the Path of the Angel at an area before this. So yeah, if you go for the platinum, or you have already, then you would know what I'm talking about. If not, then sorry. Now I take back what I said because we actually weren't done doing the biddings of Alice. We did have one more objective. This one is also very hard if you don't have the Tommy gun, because there is a very fast enemy down here called the Projectionist, and he will chase your little white ass relentlessly. But since, you know, we have the Tommy gun, I just lasered him down in like pretty much one mag, and it was very chill. I then just grabbed all of the ink hearts that were down here because that was the goal we had. Now after doing so, I then took the elevator back up and also took a quick pit stop at a level that now has a collectible that we can't grab, which was previously locked away. But it was Henry's own audio log, and a trophy is gotten from picking it up by itself, so here is that. Now that was in it for chapter 3, which was Alice's chapter pretty much, and she promised us at the start of this that after doing her bidding, she would let the elevator go up into the heavens so we could escape from this hellscape. However, after taunting us once more, she just rips us back down, and then we passed out.
No, you're
Getting a very sad cutscene of poor Boris being completely f***ing eviscerated. Rest in peace. But I got a trophy, and here it is again from choosing the path of the demon way back when. Editor, who is myself, throw up an image of that. Oh yeah, also then chapter 4 does begin. Now chapter 4 wasn't quite as long as the previous one. In fact, it was actually much more just combat based. After making it through this beginning intro part, which just had us go deeper and deeper, I eventually ended up in this kind of like fairground room. There was multiple entertainment attractions to interact with, and you also do have to beat them all to unlock the first door of 4 in this area. Again, we are still just trying to power up more doors to unlock a path that will, you know, hopefully save us. But you can get a trophy here called Bullseye from getting a perfect score on the Bullseye Bonzana, which is just this target minigame. Now when they say perfect, they mean it. You get a set amount of shots in your gun, which align with the total amount of targets, meaning you need to hit every single shot on the targets, and if you miss once, you lose. This took me multiple tries and made me very self-conscious of my own personal gaming skills, but all in all, I did manage to do it after about 10 minutes of self-doubt, and here's that trophy pop. For the next 20 minutes, I then went through numerous of the rooms here. Mostly there was just a puzzle or two to get the switch back on. All in all, a very simple time. But then after making it to the final one, we do get a boss fight, and it's against some dude named Bertram. I think this might be where the Disney Channel star ended up after Jesse got canceled. Rest in peace. Anyways, the fight itself is actually super easy. It's almost sad. Genuinely, all you have to do is sit in a corner because he can't hit you there, and then just run up to him when he's having a seizure and slap off all of the bolts from his arms. The arms then respectively fall off after, and once getting rid of all of them, you kind of just win the fight. He doesn't blow up, which honestly, that's pretty lame. Instead, he just kind of stops moving, and the trophy from winning the boss fight pops. The game then takes us into another room with the Projectionist again. Now we don't have any weapons to fight him this time, and it is an instant kill if you get caught. So to solve this, we have to hide a lot and also just sneak right behind him. I would end up getting seen because, I mean, I suck at stealth. But if you just run upstairs in this area and flip this switch, the power dies and the Projectionist disappears disappears. I also took a pit stop and I got a quick trophy from just looking through this cardboard cutout at the camera, so here is that. We then end up taking a roller coaster ride a little bit later and another boss fight happens. This time with Boris. What have they done to my goat? Look how they massacred him. Also, Troy pops upon reaching the fight. Anyways, this fight was, it was not fun. In fact, it took me forever to get past. I just did not understand how you were supposed to damage him. It was honestly pretty sad. All in all, in hindsight, it actually is a very easy fight. It's like the easiest mechanic ever. You just dodge him, and when he's stunned, you poke him with a plunger. The problem I had was in his final stage, he starts throwing roller coaster carts at us, and I just kept on dying, let alone not knowing that you actually have to let him throw a few to actually be able to hit him. Long story short, it's a skill issue. I finally did win the fight, and another trophy also pops after from completing chapter 4 and the boss fight itself. So we then began chapter 5, and this is the final chapter of the game. Also, it's the worst chapter in my opinion for a lot of reasons, but the first of those is the intro. You kind of just get trapped in a room from the real Alice and I guess alternate Boris. They pretty much just imprison us, and we sat here forever. Like, this scene just goes on and on and on. You can't do anything. Eventually we do get out, and then there's another very long boring section. All you do is ride this boat, and every time it stops you have to go to the engine to knock off some ink to get it to go again. Nothing else happens until you reach the end of the water tunnel. And in this room is also where you do the largest combat encounter of the game and where the aggression trophy can be gotten. Now the description is very minimal, but to get the trophy you have to first survive the combat encounter, but also you have to get more kills than Alice and the Boris looking guy. It's very hard, and I would die numerous times during it, so yeah, pretty much an instant fail. I did still get a trophy however after it ended, called Shadows and Suffering, just from the story. Now after that we then reach another puzzle of sorts where you had to gather ink from a fountain to craft gear parts to power yet again another door. But you can also get a trophy during this called Valued Employee from taking a longer walk. This just means you need to not get caught by any of the patrolling enemies while grabbing the ink we need. Overall, it's not hard, especially once you memorize the routes, and here's the trophy pop. After that, in the same area, is also the last bacon soup of the game. And after I did grab it, the trophy then popped, thankfully, and yeah, that's actually pretty dope. The collectible trophies are probably the biggest platinum blocker for people in this game. Anyways, and then got 2 more trophies right after. First was, I believe, a story trophy from just going through this path, but in the same room was also the final radio of the game. There isn't a lot of these throughout, but I did find them all yet again for another collectible trophy. I then reached the ending of the game, and it's very linear. Pretty much all that happens is we make it to the demon's throne, I guess, and we grab this film labeled The End, which is how we get rid of the demon. Seeing this, the demon then begins to chase us very intensely. All in all, he chased us into a room with 4 ink tubes powering this place, I assume, and you pretty much just have to bait him into destroying them to then stun the demon. This then allows us to run back to his throne and place that film in its spot, which then ends off the demon's reign, and we win. A final cutscene then happens, and it shows us at a normal house and talking to Henry's old friend who runs the workshop, telling us to go visit it, and the cycle continues, with the main story completion trophy popping after. So that is stage 1 finished with. Now it's time for stage 2, which is just a cleanup of remaining trophies. And I was only missing 4 trophies, and I was really only missing 1 from the actual game. But first I just went back to chapter 3 to get the Path of the Angel trophy, which I didn't get because I picked the demon path previously. But right away during that choice, you can get the final audio log of the game, which was previously locked out. And once picking it up, I got that trophy, finishing off the collectibles, thank God. I then just played through all of chapter 3 again. It's quite literally the same exact thing. It kind of takes forever. The only real difference is that we don't get the Tommy gun, so yeah, that's literally the only change. After finishing it completely, the trophy then popped with ease. Now real fast before going for the aggression trophy, I got the only other one I was missing, called Standing Proud, from finding out where you belong. And this is more of just an Easter egg trophy because it's gotten in the epilogue record room and just standing on some empty pedestal. So once doing that, the trophy then popped. Now I then did dive back into the aggression trophy, and the reason this one sucks so much is because obviously due to the combat mechanics, you know, kind of sucking, it makes it very hard to survive the combat encounter to begin with, but there also isn't any checkpoints leading up to the area. So if you fail, which I did quite a few times, you have to completely restart the chapter over again, and you have to sit through all of the cutscenes at the start. It just sucks. It's very annoying, and if you fail over and over and over, I can see why this game could grow into quite a long platinum time like the guide creators said it would take. Thankfully, because I learned from my mistakes, you know, usually, I got it on my 3rd try, I believe. So once just surviving, ripping and tearing until it was finished, I got the trophy pop and the platinum trophy on Bendy and the ink machine. So that was the Bendy and the ink machine platinum trophy experience. All in all, I think this game is a great horror game. It does have some very silly and confusing puzzles here and there, but I'm also just an idiot, so yeah, that's probably what did it. But that's all. Thanks for watching. More videos on the way and a new challenge coming soon. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, boys.